Hi there, my name is Emma Jones-Burke. Welcome to my Assignment 1 presentation for Primary Science and Technology. As you can see, there's quite a bit to get through in this presentation, so I'll let you have a little read through what we're going to have a look at, and then we'll just get cracking. Engaging in this model making experience as both a researcher, experimenter and an active learner benefits me as a teacher by enhancing my teaching skills, my communication abilities and my empathy for my students. It also strengthens my grasp of scientific concepts and encourages a growth mindset within my classroom. In the previous slide, there was a little picture of my initial drawing plan for my model that I decided to make, which is a steamboat. In this model making exercise, I will be using recycled materials, using lots of problem solving and learning about circuit design and electricity to create a moving model. So the key design and production skills that I had to utilise whilst making my model included planning, component selection and also hands-on assembly of my model. In these photographs you can see that I have used the internet to find some boat schematics, to design a hull and to make it out of cardboard. I had initially designed the boat to be fully aquatic. So in this part of the presentation you can see that I'm using epoxy resin to coat the hull that's made out of paper and cardboard in epoxy resin, that way making it fully waterproof. When I was thinking about making my model, I had initially wanted to make everything waterproof. Later on I decided against that as it was causing quite a few issues in terms of my electrical circuitry. But here you can see I've got a paddle for the back of my boat. Everything here was waterproof, so I used a plastic bottle Tetra Pak. There were some issues here with the weight of the paddle, so I had to revise that later as well. When students are utilising recycled materials, tools such as glue guns, box cutters, etc., and later electrical equipment, they do develop solutions for creating problems that they have when creating their model, such as I did. I also had to get quite creative later with the equipment that I was using, thinking about different size gears for my motor and making the paddle move. As you can see in these photos, the model is now starting to come together and I'm incorporating the model with some electronics. I'm struggling to find how I'm going to get the motor to move the paddle as I've created quite a big heavy one. So there are some issues there that I needed to troubleshoot. Problem solving is really important in the classroom. Students will need to use problem solving to understand circuit behaviour, if they have faulty components or components that need more voltage, the behaviours of the circuit, if there are any loose connections, and work out how to make those work. They need to use their creativity to explore different ways that the components can be arranged and visually represent the concepts they're learning in circuit diagrams. Documentation is a really important part as well, as it's useful for later analysis and formative assessment for the teacher, but also for the children to reflect on and use for their own thinking and learning. My in-uni day was really fantastic. I got lots of help from my peers and my tutor. I did some troubleshooting with the electronics, making sure that my series and 2 parallel circuits that I decided to use would work with the components that I had. I looked at wheel construction with one of my peers. My paddle wheel was a bit heavy, and so he talked me through torque and using larger gears to get that paddle working, and suggested I make a smaller paddle. I also talked about buoyancy, and then I had a really good look at some YouTube videos about torque. So of course at this point in my model making, I really had to have a really good grasp of electrical current, voltage and resistance to make sure that I was thinking in the right way about how to construct my circuitry. Were the components all going to work together, or would I have to make larger circuitry to account for the voltage that each component needed? So my in-uni day, I realised that 1 parallel circuit, 1 series circuit wasn't going to cut it for the components that I had. Some of the components used quite a bit of voltage, and so they needed to have their own parallel circuit. Therefore, I created 2 parallel circuits and 1 series circuit to make sure that all of my components had enough voltage so that they could all run at the same time. Here I've got the designing and testing circuits component of my model making. On the far left I've got the circuit diagram in yellow. I've got the series circuit with 2 components, 2 light bulbs shown in orange with 1 switch, and then I've got the parallel circuits in green with 2 components, 1 in each parallel circuit and each with a switch. In the video you can see all of the components working, and that's the circuitry that I then use in the model. It's all working, fantastic. So in the classroom, of course, our students are going to need to know how to draw circuit diagrams and represent components and connections using standardized symbols. They also need to know about electrical safety, how to not overload the battery or the components and find themselves with short systems. I've just got a series of videos here just illustrating how I finished off the model, incorporating all of the electrical components and circuitry into the model. So I stuffed all of those electrical circuits into the hull of the model. I also designed a paddle for the back of the boat. As you can see in this middle video there, I just show off the new and improved lighter paddle, and I'm just going through all of the electrical components, showing you each one working individually, using each of the switches for each of the series 2 and 2 parallel circuits. And then in the final video I'm showing how all of the components can work together and flipping all of the switches on at the same time. I'm very pleased with how everything came together in the end, and it did all work, so I'm very pleased about that.
Switch 2.
Yes, I don't think those lights really liked being on at the same time as the buzzer and the paddle. Whoops. So the pedagogical content knowledge that I gained from making this model, it helped me to see where my current knowledge and what my misconceptions related to the topic of energy and transformation in electrical circuits were, and think about how that might also be working in the minds of my students. Thinking about engagement levels, such a hands-on activity really engaged me, and I think it would be really fantastic for my students as well. All of that hands-on learning through doing, and constructivism is a fantastic way for children to really get their minds working and problem solve, use their critical thinking skills. It's a fantastic way also for formative assessment. You have a product at the end. There's also a lot of documentation that goes along with creating the model. It makes concepts really clear. You have to learn hands-on how the circuits are working, and then how to then make them work within the model. There's also considerations when taking on a project like this in the classroom, that health and safety is a really important part of that as well. And I think as well that instead of being a situation of the teacher giving the knowledge to the children, it's one where they construct themselves. They create a model that's based on their interests, and they produce their own knowledge. It's a really fantastic way as well of thinking about how students might make a simpler model if they are really struggling with the concept, or they can make something really complicated like what I did if they're maybe a little bit more advanced. So the learning that I gained, I thought I had to think very carefully about how to use recycled materials that were not designed exactly for the purpose, how to make my model as functional and accurate as possible to my intended goal. I learned a lot through trial and error. I really had to manage my time, and I think that that's going to be really good for students as well in their learning. And I think I needed to spend a bit more time with designing the model before I actually went into the doing. The successes, I found my peers to be really, really helpful in helping me troubleshoot my problems. I got a deeper understanding of electrical components and the electricity concept in general, and my pedagogical content knowledge I think has been increased, allowing me to be able to teach this content really successfully in the classroom. So the 5Es is an instructional framework designed to engage students in the process of scientific investigation and learning and can be utilised in the classroom context. So there are 4 stages of the lesson. So engage sets the stage by introducing the concept, and so we'll talk about electrical circuitry, what the students already know, and then we can explore. Then this stage involves hands-on construction and experimentation with components, cells and circuitry, so we have a little bit of a play. Explain is where the students articulate their understanding of the explorations and the play that they've had with the materials. What have they noticed? What have they deduced? The elaborate stage allows for deeper exploration, and this stage you may also do some research. The evaluate stage assesses what students have already learned, recap on learning, and then potentially extend on the activity, maybe introducing a little bit more complexity. Using the 5Es method in this context not only makes the learning process more engaging and more student-centered, but also ensures that the students actively participate in scientific inquiry and concept development related to energy transformation in electrical circuits. Through observation, data collection, hypothesis formation, analysis, explanation and reflection, students can demonstrate their understanding of how energy transforms from electrical energy to light, sound or movement energy, particularly when components are connected in different circuit configurations. As you can see here in this table, I've made links to 2 other key learning areas, history and English. As you can see, with my model design, I had intended my model to represent a steamboat that had come over from the UK to Australia, showing how the Australian diaspora has been influenced by migration. In terms of the English syllabus, this could be a fantastic opportunity for a student to write an imaginative narrative based on some historical diary entries as a person who has travelled over from the UK on one of those steamboats. There's plenty of opportunity for learning on cross-curricular interests here. Thank you very much for watching my presentation. I hope you enjoyed everything and it was informative. Enjoy the rest of your day. Goodbye.